Uh, my name is Funkenstein, and I'm going to show you guys a quick and easy way on how to build the Toothy so you don't have the trial and error messes that I did when I first started building this after I've seen it in YouTube videos. Okay. The materials are very simple. However, I always start with concrete on mine. I never build before concrete just because once I'm building a Toothy, I'm building it for life. So here we go. You need wedge tips to start out with. The only wedge tips that are outside of creative mode are Adobe white wedge tips, Adobe peach wedge tips, and concrete wedge tips. These are going to be the basis of your Toothy. I'm going to go ahead and go with Adobe white because it's going to be easiest to see for everybody. Now for the horizontal and vertical bars, which are going to make up the stop bar and the teeth of the Toothy, which give it its nickname, you want poles. You can use Adobe white poles, Adobe peach poles, concrete poles, or even wood poles if you want. Again, I'm going to go with Adobe white. Makes it easier to see against the contrast of this plains biome that I'm in. And last but not least, you're going to want just something to make it all look connected. So you're going to either want blocks or ramps at the top. Doesn't matter which one. The teeth will keep spiders from climbing to begin with, so you won't have to worry about anything getting in. This is just going to make it look all held together and perfect the way that, so it doesn't look all just floaty out there in the middle of your build, in the middle of your base. So I just went ahead with concrete blocks for this. I probably should have done Adobe white, but we're going with this. Okay, so let's get started with this. First thing you're going to want to do is decide how big you want your Toothy to be. You'll want to make it depending on what kind of area you're in. Also, what kind of time and resources you have to put into this Toothy. I'm going to come out here into this town. It's the flattest areas, and we're going to try to get this started real quick. Actually, let me fire up some wood frames in the creative menu. Yeah, we'll just do this. Frame wedges. We need to flatten out some ground here. So this is how we're going to do it. If you haven't flattened out the ground or you're having any sort of problems with things not showing up, I highly suggest doing this first, just for the simple fact that it's going to make things a lot easier by the time you start all this. Right now, this is we'll go with this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that's odd. We'll go with that. On a build like this, even odd doesn't really matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get the grass out of the way. 7, 8, 9, 10. And one more for 11. Hopefully I counted that right. If not, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments, and I'll look like a dumbass trying to build this thing completely wrong. It's going to be awesome. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Damn it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we're just going to come around here. Now, I will pick up all these frames. Right now, I'm just going to flatten out just the section where we're going to put our wedge tips. That way, everything's nice and visual, so you guys can see exactly what's going on, how I'm building this, all this good jazz. Alright, so now we pick up our frames, and we'll have a nice little dip there showing us exactly where we're going to put our wedge tips. And you can make these things as big or as little as you want to. On videos, I've seen people circle entire buildings with them. I've seen people do like a 7x7 out in the middle of nowhere just to run out and do Horde Night. And they'll have like a hatch leading down to bedrock to their mine and where they keep all their stuff. It's very versatile building. Okay, so here we go. We want to rotate our wedge tips to the correct position. And we start... Where did I start? Here. Yeah, we'll start there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you see, I've got the wedge tips going at a slant this way. You want the tallest part being inside where you want to stand to fight the hordes. You want crawlers to be able to walk right up onto them. That actually, it turns them a little bit, you know, it angles them upwards so that you can get really easy headshots without having to fuss with those guys too much. There. And if you notice, I'm not connecting them here, and I'll show you why as soon as I get all this laid out. Because what we're going to do is, that is going to be our 4 corners, and we're going to put poles there. Some people put blocks, some people put poles. I've just recently started experimenting with the blocks myself. Haven't really got to test it out on a horde yet. They hold up pretty nice, same as poles do. Poles give you a lot less block to have to worry about a zombie sticking his head in or hiding behind. So that makes it a little bit better to deal with on these. Okay, so now we have our wedge tips down. We've got each of the corners are empty, and we're ready to start phase 2 of this thing, and that's putting in our poles. The first thing you want to do, just save yourself some time. As soon as you pull the pole up, go to the first corner where it's set up here, so you don't have to worry about rotation. The next rotation, you'll go to that corner that it needs to be rotated onto, so on and so forth. Makes it real simple for you. You don't have to worry too much. Let's see. This has gone 3 up. 3 up you can jump through. You're going to bump your head, though. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to... Oh, okay. Let me get some real wood frames in here. Can't nerd pole on wedges very easily, apparently. Alright. So what you want to do is you want to go 4 high on these poles. That's going to give you plenty of room to jump in and out without smacking your head and getting turned sideways. Also, less of a chance to not be able to jump through so the horde doesn't tear you a new one as you're trying to run into your toothy because you were crazy enough to run out in the middle with dogs and ferals and everything else running their ass off at you. You don't want that. That's bad. Promise. Okay, let's stick this next one here. We'll go ahead and get our frame set up so we can get them 4 high. 1, 3, and come on, 4. Notice the game's been real laggy as of late. A lot of jump lag all over the place. Not a fan. They need to do something about that. Let's see. 2, 3. Oh, 4. See, it has to be an ass. Alright. Like I said, 4 high on each post. 2. 4. Okay, now we have our poles in. Now this is going to make it easier, putting in the poles second, to line up your horizontal bars. And what the horizontal bars are going to be are just same as these. It's going to be these exact posts. And what you're going to want to do, let me bump it up onto the block here. You want to rotate this pole to the bottom section to where it ends up flush with your wedge tips, just like this. And this is how it'll work, because when everything comes crawling in, it'll get its head stuck on the edge of that. So you don't want it to be out here, because it's not going to work. They're going to go right up under it, and they're going to bend you over and, you know, show you a good time in old-fashioned zombie way. That's not what you're looking for. You want it to be flush with the poles and with the edge of your wedge tips. Makes everything real simple. Keeps everything out. Now, these things get hard to aim because you're working with, you know, just poles. So just aim for the edge of that pole. You get to the next one. Oh. Just aim there. Boom. Now you guys see why I said to do the poles second after you get your wedge tips in. That helps you line these up just right. You can do the poles before you do the wedge tips if you want. I figure doing the wedge tips, I always count out like you guys saw me do earlier, so I know what I'm going to be working with, and then I start laying my wedges. You can do 2 wedge corners or 2 wedges in the corners and then put a pole and then lay everything else in. That would work out just fine too, you know, however you guys feel comfortable doing it. As long as you get these poles lined up with the corner poles and the edge of these wedge tips on the inside. And there. Alright, we got one more row here. Oh. This just proves, they count as a whole block and they're sticking onto each other. So as you go through this, you're going to start to understand why nothing is falling down. Everything is considered a full block. The wedge tips are a full block, even though they only show this much, and you can punch through them, all of that. Alright. Now that we have our horizontal poles down, this is what will keep the zombies out. They will just butt themselves up against it, and then we're going to put in our teeth. And our teeth are what's going to keep them from jumping over. Once you have the teeth in, they won't get over. Doesn't matter what they do. Unless they punch through it. Then they're getting through it, not over it. Still not over it. So, you know, I'm right. Okay. Now, for the next part, you just want to aim at the pole. Spin you around until you reach the center vertical. Once you reach that center vertical, just put it in. Boom. And then you just aim at each previous pole. And these are still supported as if they were a full block. And SI is a little wonky in this game sometimes as far as it's concerned, but this is why we're going to be putting blocks up top to make it look like everything is held together and it's not just free floating. Even though, let's be honest, it is free floating while you're building it. But you just want to keep these centered the whole time, and that makes it easy because you don't have to worry about rotation then. You just aim at the pole, put in your teeth. You can do this all day long. You can do this with wood poles, adobe white, adobe peach, or concrete. I always start with concrete. We're doing adobe because it's easier to see in the plains biome here. Just aim at the side of the pole, and boom. As you can see, they go in fairly quick. It might take you some getting used to when you're first building this on exactly where to aim, and careful whenever you get the flicker where it can't decide where it wants to go, because as soon as you click that, it's going to sling it out into space, and you're going to have to get the crew of the Enterprise to go pick the son of a bitch up. And if you're not working in creative, which I am only doing for this video, it's a pain in the ass to have to go farm up more materials because you got just enough to build your Toothy, and now you're a couple blocks short. See, like that. You don't want to do that. It gets annoying as hell. Something doesn't look right about that, does it? But it is. No, it isn't. Aha! And that will let zombies right in. If it's not centered, if you do not have that pole centered, zombies will walk straight in and just beat the crap out of you. You might as well fight them out in the open. There we go. So this makes it easy to figure out too once you start if you swap to break an odd one that you placed somewhere. As soon as you put something down that's weird, it'll immediately look off. And remember, just aim at the previous poles that you put in. Keeps everything lined up all nice and perfect. And there we go. Now we have our teeth in. Alright. I will demonstrate for you why it has to be centered. If you leave them out and they're further out, the zombies are going to be able to walk in and jump straight in. With these centered, for some reason, zombies do not, they aim for the center of the block. They never aim for the side, a little off to the left or right. It's always the center of the block. Guess what? Here's the center of the block. Can't jump. So they're not going to be able to move. Spiders won't get in. Zombies won't go up over the rail. They might come off here up to the side just a little bit. They're still blocked by this damn block. And since zombies can't jump, well, there's no way in for them. However, since we can jump, we can maneuver and go in between any little space we want. We can run in and out. No problem. I suggest doing a run when you're coming into these things. Otherwise, you can kind of get stuck on this bar just like the zombies do. Makes it a pain in the ass. You don't want to get stuck on that bar. So I always suggest doing the run back and forth. Nice and simple. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our last part. The part that makes it all look pretty. The part that makes it all look like it's not some kind of a crazy special effects thing. So we're putting our blocks on top of the poles. Nice and simple. You don't have to worry about any rotation unless you're using frames, not frames, but ramps, or you can also use wedges if you choose. It's really up to you what you're going to want to use. Everybody's builds are different, and hopefully somebody comes up with a fantastic build that will actually accommodate for this. Well, we just finished putting our blocks in here. Aim at the top of your poles once you start getting out too far. I should have punched this grass out before I started making this video, guys, and I apologize for that. I just wanted to get this run earlier because I have my wife sitting over here like, Oh my god, how many times are you going to talk to these guys about how to build a toothy? As many times as it takes, dear. As many times as it takes. Alrighty. Now, instead of finishing off the blocks here, I'm just going to come to this side to show you guys what the toothy looks like now. See, now it looks more held together. It doesn't look free floating because of the poles. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret that I use. If, say, a zombie manages to punch his way through your corner pole, because they get obsessed with that. Notice it's not falling. I just punched out that corner. Everything here is supported on these blocks right here. It's all one solid block as far as Unity is concerned. As far as 7 Days to Die is concerned. That is one solid ass block. So, having the zombies punch through your corner is not such a bad deal. And they're going to go for it a lot. So if you want to make yourself feel really comfortable about that whole situation where the zombies are going to punch their ways in, here's what I do. Rotate some more poles and double up the poles on the inside. Just run her all the way up. Boom. Now you have a double set of poles, so if they punch through that one, they've still got this one. And as you can see, it doesn't affect your line of sight at all. You've doubled up your blocks, and you can still shoot around them like a champion. Okay. Now that's all from me, guys. If you have any questions, please leave them on my YouTube here or leave them in the forums on 7 Days to Die. My name's Funkenstein, and good luck. I hope you guys have success with this.